That's
Good.
lovely.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, I'm Barb Linfield from the Huntsville Lake Bays Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to introduce Jeff from Chartwell Retirement Residence. I think I got that right. And he's going to let us know all about what they do, what they have to offer, and what they do in our community. So take it away, Jeff.
Thank you. So my name is Jeff McCallum. I'm the retirement living consultant at Chartwell Muskoka Traditions. That's the Chartwell that's up by the Home Depot, just up the street here by the Honda dealership and that. Asa is the retirement living consultant at Rogers Cove, which is the Chartwell just down Highway 60, behind the LCBO there, across from Muskoka Landing, the long-term care facility on the water. Unfortunately, Asa had a family event that she had to go to, so it's just me tonight. That's okay. I think I should be able to answer everyone's questions. The reason I'm not going to, Barb and I were talking before, normally when we're giving these presentations, we have like a pretty structured presentation on PowerPoint that we're giving. And I just don't think that this is the best way to get across kind of what we want to educate people on. So I'm just going to talk. I hope that's okay. And then if you do have questions, please feel free to like raise your hand or let me know while we go along, because it is more of an education thing. So one of the reasons that we wanted to start presenting to people, so we presented with the LIN to Muskoka seniors, to WISE, to the Lions Club. We presented a lot, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate everyone on what we are and what we aren't. Because the majority of our job isn't spent selling rooms or selling all the fun things that are at a retirement home. What we're finding, especially now, is the 80%, if not more, of our time is spent educating people on retirement living and the landscape when you're looking at it. Because there's different levels and people are just unaware. And with an aging population, it's super important that people understand each level of care and where you would fit in. So I'll just start off. So the Chartwells here in town in Huntsville and James Street, which is in Bracebridge, we are independent living and independent supportive living homes. That means that when people are moving in, they are considered independent and able to do their own thing. We do have nurses and GAs and some PSWs on hand to help with medication, or if someone hurts themselves or they need to be looked at. We do have those people at our facilities. However, we can't do things like lifts. So if someone needs to go to the bathroom and they need a mechanical lift, or they need a 2-person hoist or something like that, that's not something that we can do. Or if someone has Alzheimer's, like later stage Alzheimer's or severe dementia, they're going to be looking, or certain incontinence, that's someone that's going to be looking at assisted living or memory care, because they need a little bit more help. And then if you're further along, that's when you're going to look at long-term care, or what's commonly known as nursing home, like Fairburn or Muskoka Landing. So just to begin with, I'm sure everyone's aware, there is a bit of a stress on our healthcare system, especially here in town. We don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough PSWs. The LIN is also hurting for the exact same professionals. It doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue that gets better with time. So we needed to figure out a way that we fit in to try to close the gap between that long-term care facility crazy wait list that I think is over 40,000 people deep now in Ontario, which is kind of scary, and all the rest of us, right? So independent living, in order, it goes independent living, independent supportive living, assisted living and memory care, long-term care. Long-term care is that crazy wait list. It's also government funded. You do pay out of pocket, depending, I think it's based on what you can afford and if you want a private room or not a private room, but that's heavily government subsidized. Assisted living and memory care, same kind of thing. We are privately funded. So this is where people would move in and you're on your own. Like you're the one paying for your monthly bills. But we have additional nursing services. But what comes with it when you walk in here is all your meals. So all 3 meals, housekeeping, laundry, your activities run by our lifestyle manager, nurses, and stuff like that. So you do get that care, and we are continuing to watch you, but it's still independent living. We are starting to provide more help, so more healthcare help. So we're trying to close that gap so that people who would otherwise be on the critical care list waiting for a long-term care home can age in place longer with us. So once you're in here, you can stay longer so you don't get stuck in this crazy wait list line and we don't overwhelm the long-term care facilities, which is currently what's happening, unfortunately. We do have LIN services. So in my home, I can speak to mine in Muskoka Traditions. The majority of our residents do have LIN care coming in. So we have, I believe it's Care Partners, is subcontracted by the LIN. So if you were getting help in your home, bathing twice a week or AM, PM care or what have you, that help is still coming into our home for those residents. So it's not an additional service that they're paying for or anything. The help is still coming from the LIN. They're just getting it here in our home. If there's additional services that you need, or maybe your parent needs, that the LIN has assessed you and said, no, we're not going to do more than 2 bathing help a week, that's something that we can help with. And that's where we come into play, because what we're finding a lot right now is the majority of people moving in are from out of town. And they've moved up, they've moved here, and they're bringing their parents with them from the GTA. And they don't necessarily have the right help up here. And the infrastructure just isn't here yet in the healthcare system. So that's kind of where we're finding our place. And we're also working really closely with the hospital. As you can imagine, especially over the last year, both Bracebridge and Huntsville have been overwhelmed at times because outside of just COVID, people are still falling and hurting themselves or aging and things happen, or post-surge. So we do things like respite stay rooms to help people get back on their feet. So they can't go home, they don't have a place to land with family to help them out. So they come here, we have furnished suites where they come from the hospital, they rest up, they do their rehab or whatever that needs to be done, and then they stay with us and then they go back home once they're ready to go. Many times people end up just staying with us because they like the convenience of everything being done for them. However, that is a little different.
How many suites do you have like that, Jeff, that are available for that service?
So I have 10 furnished suites that are used for respite stays and short stays. When I say short stays, I mean, there's some people that like to do trial periods because they're unsure. Will I like this kind of living? So they come and live with us for a month or 2, and then they make their decision and either go back home or stay with us. Respite stays are just recovering from the hospital. But it's funny that you asked that, because our home specifically has a unique situation as well because of where we are in Huntsville. There's a number of people who live at their cottage all summer. So they live at the cottage for like 4, 5, 6 months, and then they come and live with us in the winter. We call it our winter stay program. And it's basically those same furnished suites, and they come and move in with us for the winter because their road didn't get plowed or their family leaves, so they can't get groceries and that. So they come live with us for the winter, do all the activities, get fed, nursing staff, everything's good. And then come April, May, they all move back to their cottage. So to give you an idea of how popular that is, it's May 27th. I already have 4 of my rooms filled for September for people moving back for their winter stay program. I would imagine that becomes a more and more popular program here.
Yeah, I would think. I actually have a friend whose father, I think, did that a couple of years.
We have a lot of people returning.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we had a lot of beds filled this year with snowbirds who couldn't leave.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm.
I think it's a great idea for transitioning too, so that some aging parents don't really think that they're ready for that type of living. And if they can try it out for a season, I think they'll find that it's better for them rather than their kids trying to say, you know what, you need to get in there, feeling like their kids are putting them away, sort of thing. So
Very,
that's
very
great.
true. So we have, although we do have those who come back and forth, I have no doubt that many of those winter stays will eventually just stay with us permanently. And this past winter, 3 of the winter stays converted to just moving in with us permanently.
Wow, that's
They were
great.
kind of using it, like you said, almost as a trial. Yes, I'll go for the winter. I don't want to be isolated. I want to be around other people my own age and chat and talk and play games and, you know, all this stuff, but I'm not sure I want to do that. So it was really, really what you said there is it was them kind of dipping their foot in just to see if it's something they'd like. They stayed for 4 or 5 months. The convenience of everything here, and you know, they're not isolated. They get to hang out with people their own age and have conversations. The activities, the food is incredible. Our home is crazy. If anyone knows the cook here, Kim, she's unreal.
Oh, yes, she
Yeah.
is.
she's kind of famous a little bit. Her butter tarts are unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the food is obviously a very big piece here, and then the wellness. So they're the alert bracelets. So if you fall or something happens, they talk to you. We always have guest attendants or nurses here. So if, you know, you kind of touched on it before, realistically, the people reaching out to us are usually not the resident, not the potential resident. It's typically the kids who are concerned, or unfortunately something's happened like a fall, and then they're
Right.
retroactively reaching out to us. We try to encourage people to come before that because we'd rather them not have hurt themselves or fall. And the other
Right.
big piece is that I kind of mentioned off the top, we're independent and independent supportive living. Unfortunately, what's happened sometimes, and it's the worst part of the job for sure, people approach us and they say, you know what, my parents not quite there yet, or I'm not quite there yet. Maybe just 6 months or a year from now. Unfortunately, something happens, life happens. And by the time they reach out to us again, they're beyond our level of care. And so we have to say no. Obviously, we don't want to say no. We would love to take everyone in. But sometimes we do. We have to say no because it's not really, well, for 2 reasons. It's not really fair to the wellness staff here, so our nurses and our PSWs, to try to take care of someone beyond their level of care. And it's not fair to the resident moving in to move in and pay all that money and not be taken care of properly. Right. So yeah, unfortunately, sometimes we have to say, you're beyond our level of care. You need to look at assisted living or long-term care. You need to get on the critical care list. What we're trying to do is we're trying to have people move in before that happens. And if you move in before that happens, and then you age in place, then we can actually take care of you while you're on that critical care list or while you're waiting for that space in assisted living. Then at least you have a home, you have a place to land, you have someone taking care of you, you have your food, right. You have everything around you before you have to kind of, there's a frantic,
get past that point, yeah.
Yeah, because what typically happens is people are, in almost probably more than 50% of the cases, it's a child reaching out to us kind of like, oh my God, something's happened to mom. She's in the hospital. She can't go home. Do you have a place to stay? And that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah. Courtney, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just I was curious, Jeff, about if somebody is there and they're not at that point where they need assisted living, but they get to that point, which I imagine happens quite regularly, and I know there's a backlog in our system. How does that look for you guys? Like, how long can they stay with you? Does it ever get to a point where, like, it's gonna sound horrible, but like, do they have to go? Like,
that's a really, really good question. which I don't think a lot of people know. So I'm glad you asked it. Yes, you are absolutely right. So at a certain point when we can't take care of a person anymore, what we do, and here's another benefit to being in here, is that I think since COVID started, we actually have the LIN coming in or I guess they're called home and community care now. But we actually have them coming in quite often because you can imagine the number of residents we have that use their services. If our nurse, so Linda's our head nurse here, if she sees someone that has some red flags to say, hey, you know what, I think this person is aging beyond our level, what she'll do is she'll notify home and community care. And what they'll do is when they come in, they do an assessment of the person to say, hey, we need to do an assessment. Does this person need to be put on the critical care list? So I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with long-term care or the critical care list. So I'll just quickly go over what that is. So if you're deemed appropriate for long-term care, they put you on the list. That is that crazy list that the news loves to shoot out everywhere. That's like I said, like 40,000 people plus now. What really happens is you're ranked as to how badly you need that care. And you and your family pick your top 5 places of long-term care you'd like to land. So for example, if you're in our home, people would pick Fairburn or Muskoka Landing. I don't think I've seen anyone actually land in either of those places. They end up in Aurelia or Gravenhurst or other places. But when a space comes up, this is my understanding of it, when a space comes up at one of those 5 places, then it's kind of like a lottery. I know that's a terrible way to describe it, but then they say, hey, there's a space at this facility. Are you going to move there? And then you should take it. If there's a space for you, you should take it because they can provide you that care. And then people move out of here to that long-term care. So to answer your question kind of really well, we do have people living in our home that are currently on the critical care list waiting for a place in long-term care.
Do you find that, and I mean, I have so many questions now because I'm navigating this system with family at the moment. And it's really interesting because would you say, and especially because we're at the library, right? So we deal with people and we do referrals to community services and things like that. So it's always good to know where to send people and who to tell them to call. That's not chasing a wild goose, basically. But would you say it's more beneficial to get into Chartwell while you can and then have that assessment when you need it rather than waiting until it's too late and trying to get into a long-term care home from that point?
Yes, and kind of for the reasons I mentioned before. So even to get into our home, you need an assessment. Obviously, it's not done by home and community care. It's done by our nurse.
Okay.
So to even come into our home, let's say you were like, yeah, Muskoka Traditions is where I want to live. Suite 123 is where I want to move into. It's not that easy. You still have to, what we do is we have an admissions package that I contact their family doctor and I send out this package to their office. They fill it out. Doctors' offices are so used to this package now that they know how to fill it out. And I'm actually pretty sure the doctor's just signing for it. But anyway, they send it back to us filled out. It's usually the person's history and some updated tests. Linda, our nurse, uses that package and then does an assessment with the potential move-in. So the assessment's like 45 minutes. It's a number of questions that are based on their medical history. Hey, can you get up and do this? Hey, what can you do? What can't you do? What kind of help do you need? And then after that assessment, Linda will come to me and say yes or no. So she'll say, hey, this person's a good fit for our community, or hey, Jeff, I'm really sorry, but this person cannot move in here. Mm-hmm. And then I, Peggy, the general manager, and I will have that conversation with the family to say, I'm really sorry, but this person is beyond our level of care. Or usually what happens is I get to call the family and be like, yep, they're all good. The assessment done by the LIN, or home and community care, is completely separate. That's done by, well, basically home and community care. And that usually happens is if you have a case manager, I believe. You have to have a case manager and you have to kind of been flagged, and they'll say yes or no. So to give you an idea, we've been doing this presentation a lot with a woman named Jennifer Houston. Jennifer Houston is actually she like runs all of it. She kind of runs those teams, but they're the people. So home and community care are the same individuals. It's the same organization that sends PSWs and nurses into homes in the community. It's the same individuals who are I think they're called discharge planners. If there's a different name, I'm sorry, but discharge planners from the hospital, right? They're looking to find a landing spot for people and provide help outside of the hospital so that people can go home. So that assessment, I'm sorry, this is a really long-winded answer to your question, but
it's okay. It's a complicated question. It's a complicated system. So
it took forever to learn this. It took me forever. But it's super interesting when you get to actually figure it out. So yes, we always recommend moving in here before the need to get someone assessed by the LHIN. However, I would say 50% of the people moving in here already have services being provided to them. So they've already had an assessment.
I think that's really good to note too for the community, right? Like we work with Chartwell a lot too. So it's nice as an incentive to parents. So it doesn't feel like you're like, Barb, like you said, sort of putting them away per se. It's like, hey, like this is a really cool place to live and, get in there early before we actually have to put you away. And then you're too late. Like it's such a backed up system. So.
Yeah. And there's always, so we have links that I send out because it's such a common thing, right? It's always the child reaching out and it's like, oh my God, I don't even know how to have this conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
Parent, it's your parent. That's hard. And I try to put myself in their shoes, the parents' shoes. They might have lived, and commonly they've lived in the house for 30 or 40 years. No one wants to leave their house that they've lived in and made all these memories and sometimes raised a family in, right? Like no one wants to do that. But a lot of these people think they're living independently, but what's happening is they're relying on neighbors and friends and family to do all these things, and they don't realize the impact they have on all of these other people's lives until it becomes too much. And then that's when they reach out to us, and then they're like, listen, I can't do this. You need to help me move my parent in there. So usually we give tours. Right now, can't do that. So we've been doing a lot of virtual stuff. I made videos from all around the home, which has helped a lot of kids have the conversation, it turns out, which is really nice. It gets people excited because that age group that's moving in here still thinks of retirement homes as a nursing home because that's all existed back then, right? So everyone thinks, oh, I'm not going to a retirement home. That's an extension of the hospital with people with IVs going around in wheelchairs, and I'm not going there. That's terrifying. And that's not what we are at all. If you know what this home is, it's nothing like that. Most of the time what happens is the kids come in and they're like, holy crap, I'll move in here. Because they're like, this place is nice. Like, it's nice. So to give you an idea between the two homes, people compare our home, so Muskoka Traditions, to like a hotel or a resort. And then Asa's home, Rogers Cove, it's more of a cottage feel. So those are the two different types of feels. We definitely market to two different types of individual for sure. But it's really like, it's nothing like what people think. So we have a movie theater, a library, bistro, like a cafe bistro, a pool table, a hair salon, a Muskoka room, a spa, a fitness center, like everything you could, a cook that's incredible, 3 meals a day. It's not a nursing home. You're still considered very much independent here. So you have your own suite, you have your own, when I first started working here, I compared it to basically a dorm when you move into college or university, just for seniors. It's very much like that.
How many different types of units do you have? So like they're 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, is there condo type where it's a living area separate to the bedrooms? What are the rooms like?
Yeah, so our home, so Muskoka Traditions, actually does have 5 townhomes out front. Okay. They're full. There's a 40-person wait list for those.
Gosh.
and that is between 10 and 15 years. So you're probably not getting one of our townhomes. However, inside our main home, so in Muskoka Traditions, we have 106 rooms. Those include studios. Studios are like a bed sitting room, so like a hotel room.
Mhm.
Those include 1 bedrooms, and they include a studio plus den and a 1 bedroom plus den. So there's 4 different types of rooms, but realistically, there's only 2. There's like studio and 1 bedrooms. The nice part to our home, because it's relatively young, is everyone has their own thermostat, which I know doesn't seem like a big deal, but yeah, it's a huge deal in the winter and the summer when people get to control their own temperature.
Especially for seniors.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing that our home has is we have the home only has 9 patios. So there's 9 rooms that have patios, and there's 4 rooms that have balconies. All of those are full, and I have a wait list for them. And the people on the wait list actually already live in the building and are just waiting to move into them. So typically what happens is I don't even know that someone's moving out, and I get a knock on my door and someone's like, I want room, whatever. And I'm like, there's someone living there, and they're like, no, there won't be. And I find out a week later that someone's moving out. I'm the last person to know. Yeah. So there are wait lists, but it's for very specific rooms.
Right.
So other than that, we have openings. And then people tend to pick what they want to see out their window. Like the big 2 things that people pick are on square footage of the room, obviously, and whatever their view is out the window.
And can the residents personalize their rooms once they get in there?
Yep.
Okay.
You can't paint or anything like that, but
Okay.
you can personalize. So for example, in the 1 bedrooms, all our 1 bedrooms are like, they're brand new because they've all been flipped, like sweet turned. So like in the living room, there's laminate flooring, and then in the bedroom there's carpeting.
Okay.
And then the kitchen, all of our suites have kitchenettes. So like it's like a bar fridge, but it's a little bigger than a bar fridge.
Right.
And usually what residents do is they bring in a kettle, toaster, maybe a coffee maker, something like that, because a lot of them don't come down for breakfast because they want to sleep in, and they just have like toast or coffee in their room. So they all have their own kitchenette. The only thing not allowed in your suite is something like nothing that doesn't have an automatic shut off. So you
it's like a hot plate
or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And the menus, I know Kim is an amazing chef. Is there, is it a menu option that they order from, or is it a set meal every breakfast or Mondays it's this, or do they get a choice when they come down to eat?
Yeah. So on Thursdays, we print off the week's menu for lunch and dinner for the following 7 days. There are specials. So there are specials for lunch and dinner every single day. If you don't want one of those specials, there's an a la carte menu for every meal every day.
Okay.
And we're actually, because our home is vaccinated.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you guys know, but we were all done in January, which was amazing.
Rub that in. Rub that in.
Yeah, we were really, really lucky. We were actually the first one. So, because we're over a certain percentage for staff and residents, we are actually going to get to open it faster than others for our activities and visitors and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but oh well. Technically not supposed to come out till June 2nd. Anyway, yeah, so we will have like outdoor events probably happening, depending on how those rules change.
Right.
In the summer.
But they're not open to the public, they're just for residents.
No, so we won't have, I know the home was used for like AGMs and like concerts and that in the past. I don't think we'll get there this summer.
Right.
Or like, those big, huge card tournaments that used to happen here with like the bridge and the euchre, where we used to, because we have a bus too as part of our residence. So we actually used to bus people in to play in those tournaments. I don't think that will happen this summer, but we will get going on that again.
Right, right. How has the overall, I don't know if it's mental state, but how has the atmosphere been through the pandemic at the home for the residents? How have they been?
Tough.
Yeah. Okay.
It's tough because a lot of them have early onset dementia.
Okay.
So to them, it was difficult to understand why all these rules came in place. And especially if you saw on the news, anything about retirement living was not overly positive, right? Those were kind of focused on long-term care facilities. Like that
Right.
devastating stuff that happened was mostly in LTC.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is long-term care facilities had 4 people per room. So, I mean, something that COVID would love. I think now actually that's changed. I think long-term care facilities now have 2 people per room because of COVID. But those rules exist across all retirement living. So even though it was long-term care that kind of got destroyed there, those rules, those very strict rules that were in long-term care got spread across assisted living, memory care, and us, right? Which was fine. We probably should have very strict rules. So we did, and we were able to keep everyone safe. But to our residents, I think that was mentally difficult to go from concerts and being so social and families and friends being in here. Like our bistro and our cafe was just open all the time. It's kind of like a Starbucks or a Timmy. It's right outside my office here. And it was full all the time. There's baked goods and snacks and treats. This place was like a party all the time. And to go from that to being almost completely locked down, I think was very difficult on a lot of residents, especially those who couldn't see their families.
Right.
I don't think they understood that how lucky they were to even still have congregate dining. Like people weren't eating in their room. We still had like restaurant style dining going on.
Wow.
Right? I mean, we don't have 4 people per table, or we didn't. We had 2 people per table, and we put 3 eating.
They were never confined to their rooms?
No.
Wow.
So they've been congregate dining like a restaurant, being served by servers and everything the entire time. And I think we're actually about to go. I keep letting all these secrets go. We're actually about to go to 4 people per table again, and back to our hour-long seating with a grown menu, like a bigger menu again. And like none of us have got to do that. None of us got to go and do congregate dining and eat in a restaurant. And they got to. And at certain color codes, we could still have group events or matinee movies running or stretching or like arts and crafts. They still hang out with each other. They actually still, I know technically they're supposed to be wearing masks and everything, but at least they still get to see and talk to other people.
Sorry, I should have raised my hand properly. I was just curious. They do have to wear masks though, don't they, if they're within?
So because this is their home, we can't force people to do anything. So we can't force people to wear masks. We can't force people to stay in the home and not go out of the home because it's independent living. However, what we can do is our general manager continually sends out emails to the families, and we talk to the residents constantly about their responsibility because they're living in a community, and they need to remember that it wasn't just about them and that it was their responsibility to wear a mask to protect the other people that they're eating with. Because when they sit in a dining room, you're not wearing a mask when you're sharing a table with someone. So it was their social responsibility to stay safe and keep others safe. So although we couldn't mandate anything, yes, it was heavily, heavily recommended. The same rules that existed for the rest of us, to wear a mask when they were outside of their rooms, to not leave the residence for anything other than essential visits, typically to the doctor or the bank. But it's their home, right? So.
That's amazing. My mom lives in a retirement home, not in town here, and she was confined to her floor. They had their meals in their room, but what the attendants did was they ran games and whatnot for each floor. So there was floor bingo, there was, they did Jeopardy, they did things like that on each floor, so that they were still doing activities, but she just couldn't leave her floor.
Yeah, I
So it's
know
great
for homes who went into outbreak, that was definitely a thing. You'd be confined until everyone could get tested and everything would be deemed clean. We do have in-suite bingo going as well. During lockdown, that's basically our go-to. And the VON is still coming in, but the VON can't do like group size exercises.
Right.
They're doing, I saw them there. They came in again today. They were here for one-on-ones. Yeah, which is too bad because we have if you guys know this home, you probably know the Muskoka room. That's how everyone knows it home.
Yeah.
Hold 81 people, and to have a one-on-one exercise is so weird.
You'd almost want to do it in the bistro where it's a little more. Well, that's great. It's important, I think. My mother's in her 90s, but it's important, I think, for people our age to know these options and can help counsel parents when it comes to that point in their life where we want to keep them safe. The hard part is when they're leaving a home that they've lived in for most of their life or where they've raised their family. That makes the conversation to another level, a little more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. Usually the reason is they just can't keep it up anymore. Like I'm a brand new homeowner for the first time in my life, and I'm already done with it. I didn't know that it was that much work. So
you could probably sell it for a pretty penny right now, Jeff.
we have people, no joke, we have people driving the driveway on the weekends to make offers.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's
not for sale. I don't understand what they're doing, but
that happens. That we sold our house 4 years ago, and that's what happened to us. Somebody drove up our driveway, knocked on the door, and said, "Did you want to sell it?" And we kind of joked and said, "Sure." For how much? And they went, "Yep." Okay.
We always, my wife and I always spitball back and forth. I was like, "What's the number you would sell at?" She's like, "Nothing," and then I come up with obscene numbers, and I want to see her say yes. So.
So is your name one of the ones that's in for the townhouses then?
I'll never get in there.
Any more questions does anybody have for Jeff and the facility there? Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for taking the time. I think what you shared with us was very informative, and I think those watching this afterwards are going to find it very informative, and can't wait till you can open up and we can do another one of these live and with tours.
And with butter tarts.
And with butter tarts.
I would like
do butter tarts
Kim's
the last
butter
time.
tarts.
I don't, yeah, I know everyone, I don't even get told when she's making them. So basically what will happen is pretty much once every 3 or 4 months, I'll get a knock on my office door and I'll open the door and it will be Kim and she'll have a butter tart for me. And that's
Nice.
it. And that's the only heads up I get.
Very nice.
Yeah.
She did, but the last time something was hosted there for the chamber, she did do the butter tarts and she had the food all out on a buffet and desserts, and she didn't bring the butter tarts out until the very end. So those that left early missed out.
Yeah, she doesn't tell people. She doesn't even tell Peggy, the general manager. She's afraid people will come into the kitchen and take them.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Courtney, do you want to introduce Kara?
Yeah, I'd love to this very large group of people this evening.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Sorry, I have my video off because I was eating dinner and I feel like you guys didn't need to see that. So Kara McQueen is taking over my position for me. I'm heading on maternity leave in about 5 days. So hence why I'm eating dinner. You can't keep me away from my food at 6 o'clock at night at this point in the game. So Kara is taking over. She may be a familiar face to some of you. She's been in Huntsville for a few years with her family now, most recently at Deerhurst. So she will be doing all of our adult programming, outreach, and partnerships at the library. So Jeff, she works very closely with like Katrina and there's a new person at Rogers Cove whose name is slipping my mind. Cheryl? Nope, that's not it. what's the lifestyle manager at Rogers Cove? I can't remember her name. This is embarrassing. Don't show her this video, please.
Yeah, it's baby brain. It's baby brain.
So yeah, she'll be delivering books to the seniors at the homes and doing all of our outreach. So that's Kara. Welcome.
Hi, Kara.
Welcome, Kara.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Also, congratulations, Courtney.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jeff, for everything this evening. And thanks, Barbara, for putting this together. Hope to see everybody soon.
Yeah, and you're always welcome to dial in on these when the baby's napping if you want to take part even on your maternity.
That sounds lovely. Maybe when the baby's sleeping, if that's a real thing. I think it's a myth. Have a good night, everyone.
I just want to thank everybody for coming on here, and any questions, I'm sure Jeff would accept a call or emails to his place of work, and you can always get to him through me at the chamber. So hope everybody has a good evening, and we'll see you soon.
You too. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye now.